Here from Jordan Schultz. The Browns have requested to interview Jaguars OC Grant Udinski for their head coaching job. He's 30 years old today. He's worked with Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence this season and with Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold last year. This guy has very little experience as a coordinator, but he is one of the names that, again, the media masses has anointed as boy child of the future.
Here from Jordan Schultz. The Browns have requested to interview Jaguars OC Grant Udinski for their head coaching job. He's 30 years old today. No, this guy's unbelievable. He's the best. I'm so thankful to have this guy here. You want to talk about all the things you look for in a coach? So, don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. When I heard this, my first thought wasn't excitement, it was shock. Real sit up in your chair shock. The kind that makes you rewind the clip and ask, wait, did they really just say that? Because moves like this don't happen quietly. They hit like a thunderclap. They split the room. Half the fans are yelling, "This is genius," and the other half is yelling, "This is insane." And honestly, both sides might be right. Your gut reaction is probably the same as mine. Too young, too risky, too fast, too different. This isn't how it's supposed to work in the NFL. This league is built on tradition, on hierarchy, on paying your dues. You don't just walk in and get handed the keys to a franchise unless you've been in the grind for decades. That's the story we've been told our whole lives. So when something like this happens, it feels wrong. It feels like someone skipped the line. Like someone ripped the rule book in half and said, nah, we're doing it our way. And that's what makes this moment so uncomfortable and so electric. Because insane doesn't always mean stupid. Sometimes it means brave. Sometimes it means desperate. And sometimes it means somebody in that front office is tired of playing it safe. Think about how many teams die slowly because they're scared to look crazy. They hire the safe coach, draft the safe player, run the safe system, and every year they finish right in the middle, not bad enough to reset, not good enough to matter, stuck in football purgatory. This move? This isn't purgatory. This is jumping off the cliff and praying you grow wings on the way down. That's why this isn't just a headline. It's not just a transaction. It's not just breaking news. This is about the future of somebody's career, somebody's legacy, somebody's chance to become more than a name on a depth chart or a face on a graphic. This is about whether a franchise wants to be bold or whether they're about to regret trying. Because when you make a move like this, you're not just betting on talent, you're betting on vision. You're betting that the people in that building see something the rest of the league doesn't see yet. And that's dangerous. History is full of visionaries who were just wrong. But it's also full of people everyone laughed at until they were the ones holding the trophy. That's why this moment feels like a movie scene. The camera would zoom in on the decision. Slow music in the background. People whispering in hallways. Fans arguing online. Analysts yelling on TV. Everyone asking the same question in different ways. Are they about to change the game or ruin everything? Because there are only two paths from here. One of them leads to history, to highlight reels, to remember when they doubted him, conversations, to jerseys in the crowd and kids copying his throwing motion in the backyard. The other path leads to embarrassment, to firing headlines, to what were they thinking, documentaries, to another reset, another rebuild, another apology to the fan base. There is no quiet ending to this story. And that's why you should care. Not because it's smart, not because it's risky, but because it's bold, because it's emotional, because it tells you exactly what this franchise thinks about itself. They're either saying, we're ready to become something different, or they're about to learn the hard way what happens when you gamble everything on one idea. This isn't about today. This is about what this franchise wants to become. Right now, everything about this moment feels shaky, loud, and unfinished. Like the story hasn't decided what it wants to be yet. Because where he stands today isn't clean. It's not settled. It's not comfortable. He's standing in the middle of noise, in the middle of opinions, in the middle of people arguing about what he is before he's even had the chance to show it. That's the reality. That's the pressure. Look at the situation. New direction, new vision. A franchise that's tired of waiting and tired of being patient. The roster has talent, but it's missing certainty. The fans want hope, but they're scared to trust it. And right in the middle of that tension is him not fully crowned, not fully doubted, not fully protected either. The fans see potential. They see flashes. They see what could be. They see arm talent, confidence, presence. They see moments that make you sit forward instead of leaning back. But they also see risk. They see youth. They see mistakes that haven't happened yet but feel like they're coming. So the fan base is split. Some are already defending him like family. Others are standing back with crossed arms saying, "Show me." The media? Totally different story. The media lives in extremes. Either he's the next big thing or the next big disappointment. There is no patience in headlines. One good rep becomes a prophecy. One bad throw becomes a warning sign. They don't talk in seasons, they talk in moments. And right now, every moment is being watched like it's a verdict. Look at the depth chart. Look at the room. This isn't a quiet situation. This isn't a slow build. This is a spotlight. Every throw in practice matters. Every interview matters. Every reaction on the sideline matters. There's no hiding in this. There's no just develop in peace. He's being developed in public. So what is he right now? He's talented, but doubted. He's exciting, but questioned. He's the future, but nobody agrees. What kind of future? Some people trust him already. They say you can't teach what he has. They say you either feel it or you don't. And when he's out there, you feel it. They talk about his confidence like it's contagious. They talk about his presence like it changes the energy in the room. Others don't buy it. They say he hasn't earned it yet. They say hype isn't production. They say potential doesn't win games. They point to history. They point to names that sounded just like this once and disappeared. Scroll through social media and you'll see it. One clip of a clean throw and people are tweeting like the future just arrived. One bad rep and they're asking why the team ever believed in him. It flips that fast. That's the world he's in. That's the stage he's standing on. Analysts are split too. Some call him the perfect fit for the vision. Some call him a gamble. Some call him necessary. Some call him reckless. And the wild part is, they all sound confident. But none of them are the ones who have to live with the result. He's not just trying to be good. He's trying to become something in a city that's tired of waiting. He's trying to earn trust from people who've been burned too many times. He's trying to grow while being watched, judged, compared, and predicted every single day. And if you're a real fan, you know exactly what this moment feels like. It feels like hope, trying to stand up while fear is pulling it back down. They say pressure makes diamonds, but it also crushes people who don't get time to breathe. And right now, everything is working against him. Start with experience, or the lack of it, depending on who you ask. They say he hasn't seen enough, hasn't failed enough, hasn't survived enough bad Sundays to earn trust. They talk like pain is a resume, like you only deserve belief after you've been broken in public. Then there's age. Too young, too early, too fast. They act like confidence is a crime when it shows up before permission is granted, like you're supposed to wait your turn, even if your turn never comes. Then they go to the draft spot. Too high, too low, too controversial, too loud. They turn one number into a personality. They say, he was taken here, so he must be this. Like a pick defines your ceiling forever. They bring up past mistakes, a bad throw, a bad decision, a bad game. They zoom in on it, slow it down, replay it, and call it truth. One clip becomes a verdict. One moment becomes your whole story. And the media? They don't just report, they shape. They build heroes fast, and they tear them down even faster. One week, he's the future. Next week, he's a warning sign. They love the swing. They love the drama. They don't live with the consequences. Then there's the locker room whispers. Who believes in him? Who doesn't? Who's watching? Who's waiting for him to slip? Every stare becomes a rumor. Every silence becomes a headline. He's not just playing football. He's walking through politics. And fans are the hardest part, because fans love you loud, but they turn even louder. One bad game and they want blood. One mistake and they rewrite your whole story. They don't remember the grind. They remember the scoreboard. They don't remember the hours. They remember the result. They don't remember the process. They remember the pain. And this franchise has history on its back. Years of heartbreak. Years of next year. Every new face doesn't just carry his own pressure, he carries the ghosts of everybody who failed before him. So every throw he makes isn't just his. It belongs to the past, to the doubt, to the anger, to the waiting. And it stacks up fast. Expectations, comparisons, headlines, predictions. Every step feels heavier than the last. They compare him to names that already hurt. They ask him to fix what he didn't break. They expect him to heal what he didn't wound. And through all of that, people say they know him. But they don't see the work. They don't see the grind. They don't see the mornings that start before the sun and the nights that end after the doubt creeps in. They don't see the film rooms, the sore legs, the quiet moments where belief has to fight fear. They only see the scoreboard. They don't see how hard it is to grow while being watched, to learn while being judged, to breathe while being measured. And that's the part that gets me. Because no matter what side you're on, no matter what you think of him, nobody can say this is easy. Nobody can say this is fair. Nobody can say he's been given peace. He's been given pressure. And now he doesn't just have to succeed. He has to prove everybody wrong. Something is changing, and you don't need a headline to feel it. You can feel it in the way people talk about him when the cameras aren't right there. You can feel it in the tone, in the pauses, in the little smiles that show up before the words do. Training camp stories don't always mean everything, but sometimes they tell you more than stats ever could, because the real signs don't scream. They whisper. It's in the way he walks onto the field like he belongs there. Not loud, not fake, just steady. It's in the way he stays late when most guys are already headed inside. Extra throws, extra reps, extra film. Nobody tweets that. Nobody makes graphics for that. But teammates see it. Coaches see it. And trust starts growing in places you can't measure. You hear little things. A lineman talking about how he calls protections. A receiver saying he puts the ball exactly where it needs to be, not where it looks cool. A vet saying he listens. That matters. Because respect in the locker room isn't given, it's earned quietly. And you can see it when pressure hits. Not just in games, in practice, in red zone drills, 2-minute situations, when the defense is chirping, when the crowd noise is pumped in, when everything is built to rattle you. He doesn't rush. He doesn't panic. He doesn't shrink. He breathes. He resets. He throws like he trusts his arm and his mind at the same time. That's not normal. That's learned. And leadership? It's showing up in pieces, in the way he talks to guys after bad reps, in the way he takes blame even when it isn't his, in the way he keeps the energy up when drills get ugly. He's not trying to be a superhero. He's trying to be solid, reliable, real. You can feel it changing. You can feel the energy shifting. You can feel something different. Coaches start trusting you when you do the little things right. When you show up early, when you don't make excuses, when you take coaching without ego, and you can tell that's happening. He's getting more looks, more responsibility, more chances to lead sections of practice. That's not accidental. That's investment. And the best part? The real ones already see it. The fans who watch practice clips like their game film, The fans who listen to every interview for tone, not words. The fans who notice when teammates start smiling when his name comes up. The real ones know what's coming before the headlines do. Because belief always starts small. It starts with one guy saying, "He's got it." Then another. Then another. And suddenly, it's not hype, it's momentum. He's not perfect. Nobody is. But he's growing in the places that matter most. Between the ears, in the heart. In the way he handles the moments that test you when nobody's clapping. That's where quarterbacks are made. And that's what makes this part dangerous in a good way. Because when growth starts quietly, people don't see it until it's too late to stop it. They wake up one day and say, "Wait, when did he become this?" That's the feeling right now. Like something is building under the surface. Like the ground is moving just enough for the people paying attention to notice. This is the part of the story where legends usually begin. This is the moment that decides what this franchise really is. Not what they say they are. Not what the slogans say. Not what the commercials promise. What they actually are. Because moves like this don't just change seasons, they change identities. They draw a line in time and say, before this and after this. So here's my prediction. And it's not safe. It's not neutral. And it's definitely not boring. If this works even halfway, it changes everything. It changes how this franchise is talked about. It changes how players look at this city. It changes how free agents think about this locker room. It changes how fans talk about their own team without lowering their voice. Because history doesn't remember the careful. It remembers the bold. Nobody talks about the teams that played it safe and went 8-9 for 5 straight years. Nobody builds statues for comfort. Nobody tells stories about solid. They tell stories about crazy ideas that somehow worked. About risks that looked stupid until they looked genius. Comfort never creates greatness. It creates survival. And survival is not why fans show up. Fans show up to believe, to dream, to hope that one day they won't have to explain why they still care. That's why this move matters. Because if it hits, it doesn't just fix one position or one season. It rewrites the narrative. It says this franchise is done waiting for permission, done copying, done apologizing. It says they're ready to become something people talk about instead of something people pity. And if you've waited your whole life for this team to matter, this might be your moment. Not next year, not give it time, not maybe someday. Right now, this decision is a message. It says, we're done being afraid of looking stupid. We'd rather chase something great. And yeah, it could fail badly. That's the price of being bold. But safe has failed too. Careful has failed too. Slow has failed too. So why not swing? Because this is bigger than a game, bigger than a season, bigger than one man. This is about whether a franchise believes in itself enough to risk being wrong, whether it believes in its future enough to bet on it, whether it believes in its fans enough to give them something to fight for instead of something to explain. So to the fans, this is the part where you choose. You can wait to see how it ends before you care, or you can ride with it while it's still being written. You can hide behind, I'll believe it when I see it. Or you can say, I'm here all the way, because belief is loud. Doubt is easy. And history only remembers the ones who showed up when it was still uncertain. So believe. Defend it when people laugh. Ride with it when it gets ugly. Stand with it when it gets quiet. Because if this works, if it really works, they won't talk about the doubt. They won't talk about the fear. They won't talk about the risk. They'll talk about the moment it all changed. They can doubt him. They can laugh at him. But if this works, they'll never forget his name.